Hey everybody, welcome to Ron Line Report. I can't say I have a guest of this caliber on very often, but I'm very honored to have him here today. Six-time Mr. Olympia, all the way from Spain. Please welcome the Shadow, Dorian Yates.
Yes. What's up, Ron? What's up, everybody? Lovely T-shirt. I got my DY T-shirt on. You got your Temple Gym, so we're good.
I was talking to Dorian before we started recording. This shirt is 15 years old. I earned this after he almost killed me in a leg workout at Temple Gym.
Yeah. When were you there in Temple Gym? That was
exactly
7, 8.
It was May 2010, so exactly 15 years ago. Wow. And that was the first. Yeah. Oof.
Is that when all the guys came down, like LeBron and Sean Ray and everybody came down the gym and we had dinner and stuff?
Yeah. Well, it was a Body Power weekend. Body Power in Birmingham.
Yeah, it was. Sean was there. Flex.
I think Cutler.
Evan.
I think Phil Green. Everybody. Yeah, pretty much everybody.
Everyone was there, so it was good. We all got to go down to Temple, take some pictures, and have dinner and everything.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it doesn't exist anymore. But there's a time and place for everything, and you can't recreate something that's past, if you know what I mean. So there's various reasons why the place closed. One of them was because somebody bought the building. Oh. We were just renting the basement, and somebody bought the building and they want to make it high-end, high-end offices and a restaurant and a bar, and these barbarians underneath making lots of noise and stuff. They don't really fit in with the new business plan. So they just kind of made it very difficult for us to do business and put the rent up and everything. And in the end, it's like it wasn't viable, and I'm not there. So if I'm not there at the gym, it's not the same, right? So people come to see me and the atmosphere and everything. So it was difficult to keep it going, but nothing lasts forever, man. It was a very special place for me. It was all my whole journey started in that place. I knocked the walls down, like me and some guys from the gym. We knocked the walls down, we painted it, we put everything, like we worked our asses off for like a month to get the place open. So my heart and soul was in there. All my training I did for my whole career was in that little basement. So yeah, very special place, but nothing lasts forever, So it was kind of time to let it go.
Yeah, but
it was probably only a couple of years after you were there, I think.
Right. Yeah. So I'm very, very fortunate that I got to train there a couple times, especially, you put me through a workout, but it must feel good to know that there's only a couple, you can count on one hand the number of truly iconic gyms, I think, in bodybuilding lore. You got Gold's Gym Venice, that's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Temple Gym and Metroflex Gym, I'd say the top 3 gyms as far as bodybuilders consider the most hardcore gyms of all time.
Yeah, and that's crazy to think. I went to that gym the first time when I was doing karate. I was like still at school, right? So there was a few weights in there, but it mainly was a karate gym. Right. And then later on, I took 1987. I took over the place and made it a full bodybuilding gym because I was British champion, and somebody, they had faith in me, so they backed it with some money. And this little, it's such a small place compared to gyms nowadays. This little hole in the wall place became kind of world famous because I was training there. But I had every piece of equipment that I needed. I just didn't have like 10 leg presses. I had like 1 or 2 of everything. But all the stuff was really, really good. And as I went along, I picked up pieces from Hammer Strength and so on. Worked with them. So I had all the tools I needed there, and I had isolation as well. I used to train in the mornings before the gym opened. Can you believe Temple Gym used to open at 12 midday?
I think you told me that before.
Yeah, I used to open at 12 midday until 9 in the evening. Now the gyms are open like 24 hours, or they open at 5 or 6 in the morning. But nobody was really, like in the UK in the 80s, like nobody was wanting to train at like 6 a.m. in the morning or something. It was not a thing, So I used to go in about 10 o'clock in the morning, do my training with the training partner and isolation, and that's the way I liked it, So it was really my gym, and trying to make money with it was not really a thing. So we kept it totally hardcore. We didn't have to try to change anything to get more people in there. It was just a real hardcore place, and the people there loved it, and got world famous, which is crazy, to think that I started and never dreamed that this would be the gym would be famous as well.
I think we're looking at our clips. This is from your DY Nutrition YouTube channel, but these are clips from again, we talk about the most famous training videos of all time. I'd say the two most training videos of all time are Blood and Guts, Dorian Yates, and Ronnie Coleman, The Unbelievable. To this day.
Yeah, and why is that? It's because, so I'm a fan. I was a fan, right? Huge bodybuilding fan, and I watched everything. I read everything, and all the magazines, all the books, any tapes I could get, I watched them, and I was always disappointed in the training because it didn't look like training as I was used to it, you know. But I realized that was because in those days, you hire a video production company to do the thing for you, and they are concerned about the production. So their angles, lighting, things like that. So they, do take one, take two, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which makes it impossible to have the genuine intensity and the feeling and the energy and everything like that. So as a fan, I was disappointed. So I said, you know what? I got Kevin Horton as a friend of mine that took the black and white pictures as well. He used to work with Peter McGough and stuff. So I said, Kev, can we hire a video camera and you film me training? But I want you to just be there and film me and try to get the weights in and show what I'm doing. I want to capture the energy more than anything because that's what's missing. So yeah, he was just like a fly on the wall, and we trained and just forgot he was there and got on with what we normally do. So it captured that, and it captured the energy and the weights, and people watch it before they go to the gym to get inspired. And that was exactly what I wanted to achieve, because I didn't feel that when I watched. So I guess I was the first one to really do a genuine workout. It wasn't a thing at the time. It was all pose. So we filmed it in color. And then, I don't know, I was watching the playbacks and I was like, this looks too bright. It's too, it's too much. And I said to Kevin, can you turn the color off? Let me take a look at it in black and white. So he did that. And I was like, yeah, man, that's it. It kind of reminded me of, I'm a big movie fan. So it reminded me of the Raging Bull, Robert De Niro movie, the black and white one, the boxing one. And it just seems so more realistic because it was filmed in black and white. So that's what we decided on.
Yeah, I mean, I probably told this story before, but let me tell it again. 1992, you came out to California, April, I think it was, to guest pose at the Orange County Muscle Classic. So this is a few months before you won your first title. And I was working for that Lose Wick and the American Muscle Show, and we were able to get you to come out to my gym in Pasadena to shoot the Valio workout, Dorian Yates back training. And you made, when you trained, it wasn't for the camera. And I didn't quite understand that, because
No, it was like some miscommunication, because they wanted me there to do a pose workout. And I'm here to fucking train, right? So I'm just going to train and let them get what they can, which was pretty much that's the way things always went in the end. I started with Chris Lund, and Chris was doing the pose stuff. And I told him I didn't want to do that. I want to do real stuff. And, people liked it. So I got that first cover with the 200-pound dumbbell, and people loved that. They loved to see that. And it was kind of hard to convince Joe Weider that, he had his way of doing things, but the numbers didn't lie. When people saw that magazine sold, and people want to see more of that stuff. So in the end, Chris Lund became famous for doing super hardcore workouts. Even even I was like, Chris, no. After right near a contest or after a contest, asking me to do stuff, and I'm like, no, man, I could get injured. So almost went from being too little to too much. And then, we had Jean-Pierre Fuchs, who tore his quad doing whatever heavy squat with Chris, because you can't do it when you just come from a contest, right? You're dehydrated, your body fat's low. You can't be especially for the camera, you've got to hold it or something for the camera. So yeah, it got a bit dangerous almost in the end, but that's how it started.
Yeah, but that day taught me just how seriously you took your training, because I remember you were doing barbell rows, and I think you went up to 4 plates or 4 1/4 on the side. Something it was your top set. You only did that one top set, And I remember saying, Dorian, can we do it again? I want to get it from this angle. He said, no. I said, what do you mean, no? We shoot from all these angles. He said, no, that was my set, and we're moving on. We're doing this now. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, I think I wasn't too popular with the photographers that week because I never really wanted to do what they asked me to do. So, you know, they got their, like, you know, sheet of things that they need to get that Joe's told them or the officers told them. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. I'm not doing that. I don't think I was too popular apart from Chris, because
Chris loved you.
You know, Chris is English and we're kind of like on the same vibe, so he understood.
Yeah. So I don't know if I ever told you this. Maybe I did. You wore a belt. It was a Valio workout, so we made everyone wear a Valio belt. They were the sponsor. Yeah. And we gave you one of the thicker ones. It was called Valio 2. I don't know if you remember. People out there don't even remember Valio belts, but whatever.
Oh, I do. Yeah, they sponsored me. I wear that belt all the time when I was training, but not the big one. It's the slim one.
So the big one that you wore that day, you didn't need it because you had a belt. I took that and I wore that belt in the gym until the Velcro wouldn't stick anymore for a good 10 years. I was like, this was Dorian's belt. He trained back in this belt. You
get an extra couple of % of power when you put that belt on.
I did. I felt like energized when I put that thing on because, you know, I'm a huge fan. I've always, no matter what, at the end of the day, I'm a fan. I
started as a huge fan. I mean, you know, so I understand like a fan's perspective. I remember when Tom Platz was the guy, right? Although Lee Haney was Mr. Olympia when I kind of like started, Tom Platz was the man, especially in UK. I don't know about anywhere else, but in UK, Tom Platz was huge because he was freaky and he did a lot of seminars, and the passion that he talked about, the training and all that stuff, and the heavy squats and everything. That was like in my gym where I started. If you didn't squat, like, it's like you're gonna just leave or something, man. It's not. You're not even a proper fucking man if you don't squat. That was the thing. So we admired Lee Haney's physique, but we felt like it was great genetics because we saw him training and doing squats with like 3 plates, and that was like girls doing that in the gym, you know. So, you know, Tom Platz was the guy that inspired us, and that kind of energy, and that the training, man. The training was always a thing for me.
Right on.
And it was like a religious importance. I couldn't take a day to, you know, not train properly because I was doing a photo shoot or something, or because I was traveling and I had a guest posing or something. I try to keep it like, you know, as good as I could. Even like if I was on the road, I would be going full out. Actually, I remember a funny story in Orange County, because that was when I was out there, right? It was a show in Orange County.
Yeah.
And I trained at, I think it was a Gold's Gym in Fullerton at the time, where Sean Ray trained.
Milos bought that years later.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I was doing cable rows. It's a 300-pound stack, and it's light for me at that point. You know? So I pinned 245s on there.
Yeah.
With a weight pin, right?
Yeah.
Finished my workout, and then somebody said, "Oh, the manager or the owner would like to meet you, and you know, in the office and talk with you." So I thought, yeah, you know, they're going to say, "Hey, well, you know, welcome to our gym," and all that stuff and everything. I got in there, and there's like 3 pins all bent like this on the table.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know, you're bending our pins and everything. And I was generally like shocked, because in England, everything's hardcore and, you know, bend the fucking pin. So what? Like, just get another one, you know?
Right.
And I was like, yeah, well, I'm sorry, you know, like not enough weight on your machine. So what I'm going to do, I thought this is a bodybuilding gym. I'm sorry. Like, so yeah, it was funny.
I did. You just jogged my memory, because that back workout that I saw you do that day at my gym in Pasadena, all the stacks, 300 seems to be like the standard cable.
300 was most of the stacks were at 300. Yeah. So pull downs and rows, I was pinning stuff on it, like, you know,
you had 245
or 245s.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I guess it's not unbelievable. I mean, you were known for your strength as well. You know, that's another thing is bodybuilders have an extra level of respect for guys like yourself that not only look the part, but move the kind of weights you would expect someone that looks like that to move. So you, Ronnie,
I always did, you know, I always did. Like the physiques that I looked at, even though Lee Haney was better from a competitive point of view, was Tom Platz, Mentzer, Casey Viator, I was a big fan of Casey Viator as well, because the guy just looked like a fucking gorilla. Like he could lift, you see the guy benching 5 plates on an incline or something.
Yeah.
So I always had that. And actually, when I was opening Temple Gym, because the gyms, there's walls down and everything, we don't have the equipment in there yet, but I'm trying to keep my training schedule going. So I go on the other side of Birmingham to this gym, Forum Gym. And that was a strongman gym, powerlifting gym, and bodybuilding. But they had their stones and all the equipment for strongman. And the owner was a powerlifter. The British champion powerlifters trained there. And Bill Kazmaier used to come there to train from time to time if it was. So I happened to be there when Kazmaier was there. And he was like telling the owner, like, who the fuck is that kid? Like, it's so strong, And he's like, oh, he's a bodybuilder. He's like British champion and stuff, Yeah. It's like, so he met me and he was like, bro, you're really strong and everything. And like, he said, all the bodybuilders in America, they train like pussies, right? Not my words. His words.
His
right?
words. Yeah.
His words.
Yes.
I said, I don't know, man. I just thought everyone trained like this. And he said, no, they don't. They're not trained like this. I was like, I don't know. Just, I'm just doing my thing, man. So, yeah, I've been friends with Bill since that time when I was out in England. So I respected the powerlifters and the strong guys as well. It's not my sport. I'm not built for that. But yeah, I mean, I always like the physique that looks like it's powerful as well. And that's what I chased, Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about your training style, because you were sort of the final evolution of what Arthur Jones began in the early 70s with his high intensity training theories. And then Mike Mentzer took that and sort of added to it, made some changes, fine-tuned it. And then I think yours was the most bodybuilder-friendly version. You called it blood and guts, where you had more exercises per body part. It wasn't just one movement per body part. It was still one really heavy work set, but you did do warm-ups leading up to that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So some people get the wrong idea. Dorian changed HIT, one set. I don't care what label you put it on. It's probably, if you look at it, my training is a bit of a hybrid between more conventional bodybuilding and the purest HIT, if you like.
Yeah.
Arthur Jones. I mean, he wasn't a competitive bodybuilder and he wasn't really concerned with that. So if you're the average person, his kind of training with one exercise basically per body part and everything would be great. But competitive bodybuilder, you need side delts, you need rear delts, you need to work a couple of different exercises. For instance, your triceps down by your side, you're doing push downs. You're not really activating the long head. You need to stretch it, right? So there's 2 you need to do for triceps as a minimum. Calves you need to do 2 because you got the gastrocnemius and you got the soleus underneath. So one with the legs straight, one with the legs bent. So you need 2 there. Chest, then you're probably going to need an isolation movement. You're going to need a compound, and you might need something on a high incline to try to work the clavicle area a bit more. So yeah, three exercises of chest, probably 4 for back, 3 for quads, and I don't go in and go 100%. So what I used to do was warm up. Yeah, let's say whatever, 1 or 2 sets, go to failure. And then after, not rushing or anything, after a couple of minutes rest, drop the weight a little bit, 10%, to go to failure again. Because if I took the same weight the second time, I wouldn't get adequate reps. So basically I was hitting it and then doing another one just to make sure the job's done, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So when I met Mentzer, he said he felt that even when he was training, he did more than was necessary, and his clients, he's getting good feedback off doing less. So why don't you cut back from doing 2 sets to failure to just 1? So that's around about that time that I made that little change in the training. So people say Dorian doesn't do pure. I do what I do, I don't know. It's up to you what you want to call it. Yeah. It is much briefer and infrequent than most bodybuilders, I guess, but it's not pure HIT, because I'll do like 4 exercises for back.
True.
I think you need to. There's a lot of muscles there. You got the traps and rhomboids, and you got the lats and everything. So, biceps and triceps, 2 or 3 exercises, chest 3, legs 3. So yeah, I do the first exercise. I probably do 2 warm-up sets, and then I go in. So that's 3 sets. But on the second exercise, on the same body part, I don't really see the need to do 2 warm-up sets as I'm already warm, but maybe it's a change of angle. So I'll do 1 warm-up set and then 1 set to failure. So I guess if you take chest, it's probably usually be like 7 sets total.
Yeah. Okay.
So, it's not 1 set or 2 sets. So if you're going to count all the sets, the warm-up sets, but I don't really count them because to me that they're not doing anything. Yeah. As far as, any progress, they're just getting me safely to the point where I can go to failure. But anything below your capacity, of course, you understand the cause of stress and overcompensation. Your body's not going to change or overcompensate if it's working within its existing boundaries. Yeah? So your warm-up sets are not doing anything as in adding size or strength. They're just getting you safely to that set that will do that. Yeah.
So I'd say that while you were Mr. Olympia, that's your style of training became very, very popular with bodybuilders because you're the greatest bodybuilder in the world. Everyone wants to emulate you and do what you're doing and hopefully duplicate your results. But
I'm doing something a bit different as well, so it sparked people's interest.
Yeah, but it didn't last. I have my theories as to why. Some people love volume training because just like you said, you have that one chance to do that all-out set, and most people psychologically, that's very hard to get into that space where, okay, this is it. If I have to do this one set, and if I mess it up, if I don't take it all the way to failure and beyond, it's going to be another week until I get a chance to hit it again.
Oh, well, in that case, let's say I'm training you, Ron, yeah?
Yeah.
We're warmed up and we do this set to failure. And for some reason, yourself or myself, you're like, fuck, man. I didn't get it. I was not right in the right. Do another fucking set then. Okay. It's not a religion. Yeah. It's written in stone, right? I'm saying, ideally, you don't want to do more than 1 set to failure per exercise. Because if you go to failure, you've done all you can to stimulate. Yeah. And if you go and do it again, it's just putting more stress on top of that you've got to recover from without an additional benefit, as I see it. So that's why I'm trying to get it in 1 set. If you don't, hey, we can do another one, do another one if you feel like your head wasn't in it. Or I don't know why you didn't hit 100%, but let's give it another go. Actually, I think it's easier. See what people, if they can't push themselves, doing another set where they don't really push themselves, I don't see how that's going to, be too beneficial, right? Yeah. So try to hit it with 1 set. If you don't, do another set. But it is kind of a skill to be able to generate that kind of intensity. It takes a bit of time. But as long as you're trying, as long as it's your perceived failure. Anyone that comes to train with me, there's a guy in the gym today, I wasn't even training him, but he's like, he's a fan and he's like, can you spot me on this set of leg press? All right. And I'm just warming up anyway. So, okay. So he got on here. He had 9 either side, 9 plates. I said, how many can do with that? He said, I don't know. I'm like 10 or 11. I said, okay, let's go. Let's see. The guy ended up doing 22 reps.
Wow. Yeah.
He ended up doing 22 reps. And he's like, yeah, because you're there. I said, yeah, it's because I'm there. Yeah. But I'm not touching the weight. I'm just shouting, and I'm Dorian, and somehow that's motivated you, yeah?
It is, right? It is. Yeah.
So it's just a matter of motivation. I won't be there next time, but you should decide before you come to the gym how fucking important this set is that you're going to do because you want the results, and that's important to you. Therefore, you've made your mind up. You're just going to go balls in, and you're going to give everything you've got. It's a frame of mind. He just changed his frame of mind because, hey, Dorian's here now. Fuck, I better, whatever. But you got to tap into whatever that is inside your head. Yeah. That's going to give you the motivation. A lot of it was me. It was just fuck you motivation, as I call it. Yeah. Fuck everybody, man. Everybody that said I couldn't do something ever, or anyone that didn't believe in me or anything, all the negative things, anger and things like that, I just took them. Instead of it being destructive for me, which it can be, I just put it into the gym. Yeah. So I'm training, changing something which could be, anger and loss and negativity, whatever you want to call it. I'm using that energy and I'm doing something with it, building something with it.
Yeah, I mean the power of the mind. The leg workout you put me through at that day in May of 2010. Again, like the leg press, you had the thing loaded up with all the plates it would hold, and I'm thinking 10 reps, 9 reps, something like that. And I think I ended up doing like 15 because Dorian Yates is there yelling at me. You weren't helping. I think you were spotting low, but I think most people just can't train that hard. I thought I trained hard. I thought I trained very hard, but that's one of the, if not the toughest leg workout of my life. It's definitely one of the top 2 or 3.
Well, that's the thing that you take away from it. I show people what they can do. I mean, I could show them technique and form and all the theory you like. We can talk about it. But the main thing is that I show people is that their limit is not where they put it. Yeah. They put a limiter on themselves. They put a block on themselves somehow, and I showed them that can go away. So next time. You lifted the weight. You lifted the weight 22 times. I didn't touch it, right? So that shows that you can do it with the right mental attitude and the right motivation. How you create that is an individual thing, right? It depends on the person's personality. For me, I just created aggression out of negative things and use it to I'm gonna show you basically.
Yeah, I mean, but there's nothing like having a Mr. Olympia. The other example I use is 2005, I got to go out to Metroflex and train legs with Ronnie once. People asked me, "Oh, that was probably the other workout, the other leg workout." Well, the top 3 are the workouts with you, Branch, Warren, and Ronnie. But that day, I front squatted 405 for 4 plates aside for 10 reps. I never did that before in my life, and I never did it again. But I had Ronnie Coleman behind me going, "Come on, Ron!" Yeah. It's like the mother that can lift the car up off her trapped baby or something, But
amazing. It's there, right? So you've got to try and tap into it. That's why I always used to write my workouts down. And then before I go to the gym, I look at what I did last week. So I get a clear picture in my mind what I got to beat. Like last week, I did 7 reps. I got to do 8 or 9.
Yeah.
So I visualize it, the order of the exercises, what I'm going to do. The 9th rep. I kind of visualize everything so that I've already done it, and then I'm going to the gym and replaying it, kind of thing. So you're not going to push yourself into a very uncomfortable zone unless you've convinced yourself there's a good reason to. Right. I don't push myself that hard anymore. Why should I? I'm 63 years old and there's no benefit. So it's in my nature to go pretty hard on anything I do, but I don't feel bad if I don't nowadays, because it's not much point.
I want to talk about that in a second, but last question about the training. If you had trained the way Ronnie Coleman had trained and Ronnie had trained the way you had trained, if we had just switched your training styles, do you think you both would have looked the same, or do you think either or both of you would have looked different?
It's not night and day. If you look at the way we train, I'm not really sure, but I think Ronnie trained once a day for an hour and a bit, 6 times a week. Yeah. I train for less than an hour, 4 or 5 times a week. So it's not a huge difference. Ronnie probably did more sets. He did primarily free weights because he didn't have a lot of machines in that gym anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
So I don't know exactly what he did, but if I did what he did, I probably would have been injured as well. I've been injured myself with my own training, but for instance, squatting with free weight, I just had a hip replacement surgery, what you might know, last year. Yeah.
Oh, well.
So everything's great, man. It's really good. But the thing is, I had a hip injury when I just started training, like after 18 months, 2 years, trying to be Tom Platz, right? Because we're all trying to be Tom Platz. I got the lifting shoes. I got the wraps. I'm squatting till my ass is on my heels. And one day, I tore something in my right hip. And, I didn't know anything. There's no physios or anything around. And I just rested it till it felt better and, go back. And I kept re-tearing and irritating it until I had a little surgery to remove some scar tissue. So I couldn't free squat. I had to find another way to do it. So I was squatting on a Smith machine, hack squat, leg press, leg extension. So, you know, I wasn't built to do what Tom Platz did. I tried, but it didn't work for me. So I wouldn't be able to do free squats. Maybe for running, they were great. It looked like when he squatted 800 pounds, it looked like the form was pretty like upright and primarily quads, where I would like lean forward because just different structures. So I'm sure that Ronnie would look great. If he did my training, I would look great if I did his training as well as I could, but I wouldn't find it ideal, you know?
Yeah.
I always said to people, like, no matter what bodybuilding training I did, I would have been a very good bodybuilder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Would I be pro? Would I be Mr. Olympia? Would I have reached new standards, like in physique development at that point in time? Probably not, no.
Yeah.
You know, I really think that before the injuries came in, I was getting somewhere near probably to my potential. And maybe I wouldn't have got that far with conventional training. I'm sure I'd had a great physique because I've got good genetics for bodybuilding. You know, look at my early pictures and trained for like less than a year or something, you know, and the physique's there. It's not massive, but it's all there, right? You can see it.
It was all there. The 83 pictures, the pictures where you were very, very pale and you had the curly red hair.
Yeah. This is before any competitions or anything. And it was just, that was in Temple Gym. It wasn't my gym at that point. There was another guy that was running it, but he was also a photographer. He worked for the police, like police crime scene photographer. So he had some good cameras and he got those pictures. Otherwise, like, you know, nobody's walking around with a camera like in those days, right? So it was fortunate that he was there and he took those pictures because there's some kind of record there now that even I wouldn't remember exactly how I looked when I started if there wasn't those pictures there.
He was his name Martin? Was that his name?
Martin, yeah.
He was there at the gym the day I was there, remember?
Probably, yeah. Probably taking pictures and stuff. He'd be hanging around, yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah. So you just jogged my memory into the next topic I want to get to. So I had an argument. I really got into it in the YouTube comments because I did a preview of a contest with Sean Ray, and someone said, I hate when these retired pros don't look the same anymore. It's a disgrace. And he said, I saw Dorian Yates get totally outclassed by a 71-year-old bodybuilder from Brazil. And I'm thinking, and I said, well, the guy, if he's 71 and he's that big, he's on a cycle. He's not on TRT, which is a bad idea for anyone 71 years old to be running a bunch of gear. And I said, this guy set an entirely new standard for bodybuilding. He changed the sport. He was Mr. Olympia 6 years in a row. And you're telling me when he's 35 years now? 40? It's 35 years post-retirement, something like that?
28 years, right?
You expect this guy at 63 years old to still be, 260, 270 ripped all the time. And, I couldn't find an emoji for a middle finger, but you don't need me to defend you. I'm sure.
I wouldn't even waste my time arguing. First of all, I don't know who this 71-year-old bodybuilder is.
Yeah, exactly.
In Brazil. But, I did the sport and I did it to the maximum. And what you do for competitive bodybuilding is not the best thing for your health and longevity as you're getting older. Just look how many people have passed away in the last 5 years or something. I mean, and these are people that we know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, known competitors, right? So how many people are out there that don't even compete, right? That's had health problems or died and so on. So there is some risk there, and I tried to do it as well as I could,
Yeah.
But as you get older, you need different things, right? So if I was trying to keep taking stuff and trying to stay big now, it's just because I'm stupid and I'm insecure.
Yeah.
And I don't know who I am outside of being a bodybuilder, right?
Yeah.
And actually, at some point, about 10 years ago, my blood pressure was a bit high. And I said, look, I'm just going to lose weight. And I wasn't carrying a lot of body fat, so I lost muscle, and I did it purposely, right? And I didn't care, because I'm not Mr. Olympia. I don't need to carry all that muscle around. That's not good for my health for no reason, right?
Yeah.
And it was a good exercise for me to see, like, you know, can I do that? Can I lose muscle? And who am I without that? Oh, well, I'm still Dorian. I don't need it. You know, I am, for a 63-year-old guy, I think my fitness is really good. I just had it when I was in Brazil. They estimated my biological age to be 38 due to the, you know, heart rates and exercise capacity and all this stuff. I've got injuries from bodybuilding, which would mean that I couldn't lift heavy weights anyway, like pressing and stuff like that. Even if I wanted to build that physique, I couldn't. But why would I?
Yeah.
For the reasons I just mentioned. I'm stupid. I've got an ego. I don't know how to face life outside of this little circle where I feel comfortable. So I was so much into bodybuilding. It was my life, that when I finished with it, I wanted to see more of life and experience more things in life. And I didn't need to maintain that muscle mass for what? It's unhealthy. That's right. It's unhealthy as you get older to have a high body weight, even if it's muscle. Yes, that's right. Even if it's muscle, not good for you, right? And it doesn't even look good walking around at 60 years old and you can't move properly and everything. So, you know, I do yoga and Pilates and things like that because I do my weight training to maintain my muscle mass. I'm 230 and I'm pretty lean, so I'm not exactly skinny. But it's all about function now and the health and longevity. I got a grandson. I want to be there, watch him grow up and stuff. So I feel great, man. I feel very fit. I feel very flexible and mobile, and I don't have any pain or anything. So I'm very happy with my physical condition, and I don't live my life for other people. So I remember when I was young and people were saying the same thing about Arnold.
Yeah.
Like, why does he need, the guy's getting 20 mil a movie and he has his physique for whatever he needs to look like for that movie. That, you know, that's the point. So, yeah, I did, last time I got asked the question, like, you know, why don't you maintain this size and all that? I said, there was a few hundred people there. I said, put your hand up if you know a 70-year-old, 300-pound man. Please put your hand up.
Yeah.
Ah, no hands. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I did with a medical expert. It's called Russ Scala. I did a podcast with him some time ago. It's on DY Nutrition. But we were talking about bodybuilders and heart disease and stuff like this. And he said he's from the triathlon community, and they have the same thing there.
Wow.
Not even using steroids. It's down to the constant eating, spiking the blood sugar all the time. That was his opinion. So I asked him his medical opinion. If you're, you know, carrying excess weight as you get older, in your 50s, 60s, maybe so on.
Yeah.
If it's fat, if it's muscle, does it make any difference? And his opinion was no. It's not good either way, carrying excess weight. So just trying to stay alive, man. Excuse me, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, I honestly believe any bodybuilder who tries to maintain that much muscle mass, which means a lot of gear, a lot of food, you're not gonna make it. If you make it to 60, you've beaten tremendous odds.
Where's all the big guys gone?
They're dead. They're dead. So
Yeah.
you know, you're supposed to die young to keep a couple fans happy because they still want you to look the way you looked 30 years ago.
It's very difficult for people to move on when they're, you know, it's your source of feeling good, right? Whether it's, you know, you're a competitive bodybuilder, you have a career and all that stuff. But a lot of guys don't. It's just they feel better because they started lifting weights from a point of insecurity.
Yeah.
So they wanted to get bigger and stronger to manage this insecurity. So now they're bigger and stronger and they feel more confident. People treat them differently, et cetera, et cetera. And they literally don't know who they are without that. So I think it's sensible if you're a competitive bodybuilder, when your career's over, that you bring your body weight down. Like that's a sensible thing to do. So, I mean, no doubt people that say these things, they're probably very young because,
yeah.
When you're young, you want to be massive and strong, and you think that can last forever, but it can't, not to competitive degree.
So I want to move on to another sort of related topic. It's, when guys like yourself or Kevin Levrone or any of the old school guys talk about the cycles that they use, you're called liars because it's not what they expect. And they think they know what all bodybuilders take, because on the internet, on social media, anybody can say anything. Say, I know all the pros. I know what they use. They're liars if they say, because they're all on 5 grams of this, 20 I use of growth, and this and that. And if they say otherwise, they're just lying to you. So funny story. You know a guy named Paul Baxendale, yes?
Yes.
So Paul knows you how? Was he a training partner?
Paul used to train with me a little bit. Yeah, he's sometimes a training partner, and we're still friends now. Yeah, so he trained with me early 90s. Yeah, we had some good training sessions together. He used to come and drive a couple of hours from somewhere else in England and come and train with me and Kenny Brown. That was before I trained with Leroy, that everyone knows from Blood and Guts. But Blood and Guts didn't film till 96, so I was already like 3 times Mr. Olympia. So yeah, Paul was training with me the early days, probably around the first Mr. Olympia, second Mr. Olympia, yeah.
The reason I brought him up, Giles told me this story because Giles knows Paul pretty well. Somebody was claiming that they knew your exact cycle from when you competed, and it was 10 times what you claimed it was.
Okay.
And this guy said, I know because I was very close to Dorian. I was one of his training partners. And Paul said, I've never heard of you. You've never trained with Dorian. You're full of shit. So that just goes to say, on social media, when somebody says that, they say, I know what Dorian took. I know what Kevin took. I know what – they're all lying because I know what they really took.
Here's the truth, Ron.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what I took except for me. Yeah?
Yeah.
My training partners don't know. My ex-wife don't know because they're not there, and I could be fucking lying. Whatever I tell them, I could be lying, right? But I don't see the point. Remember when we both worked for Muscle and Fitness, and it was my idea to volunteer what I took for the competitions because I saw stuff on the internet and I thought, fuck, somebody sees this and takes it seriously and does it. It's like they're going to kill themselves. So I'm not saying what I took was super conservative. It was enough,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see the point in telling any lies. No, even when I worked for Muscle and Fitness, like they weren't asking me to volunteer this information.
No.
I could just keep my mouth shut. And, some guys from the old days I've spoken to, I think they take the piss a little bit. Like, I took 100 milligrams and 10 milligrams of this. And come on, man, But yeah, I took fucking 1,500 milligrams up to 2,000 milligrams maybe in the off season. It's not exactly a small amount, and that was like right at the end after being training for many years. When I was an amateur, it was like very, much smaller, like 500, 800 milligrams a week maybe. By the time I got to be Mr. Olympia, and I noticed even when I push it 2,000, maybe a little bit more, wasn't really getting any more benefit out of it. I was getting more water retention and stuff like that. But there's a limit to, what can be anabolic, and then more than that is going to be a chance that it's going to be harmful. So, and I tell people, like, if you're not competitive, I don't really see the point in getting on this whole merry-go-round, but that's just now you remember back in the day, steroids was like an subculture thing in the gym that we knew about. And even then people were a bit like secretive. If he was a new guy, they wouldn't want to tell you anything.
Right.
Now it's like a household thing. Right. And I think people use steroids now, men, women, just as a cosmetic enhancement, basically. Like, I don't know, like getting Botox or getting breast implants or something. They just see it like that, I think.
I mean, I think part of the confusion comes, the reason a lot of bodybuilders, even if a guy now says, a current bodybuilder says, this is what I use, and if it's not grams and grams, if it's not like 4, 5, 6 grams, people call them a liar because they're doing 2 grams, 3 grams, 4 grams, and they don't look like that. So you must be lying if you look better than me, because I think the hardest thing for most people to accept is there are those among us on this earth that have exceptional genetics for building muscle, and a certain structure and muscle bellies and things like that most human beings just don't have. And it's once you accept that, you have to admit, I'm never going to look like Dorian. I'm never going to look like Phil Heath. And that crushes people. So they'd rather believe you're just liars, because if I took what they took, I would look like.
No, I get it, man. But people can believe what they want to believe. It doesn't matter to me what's in somebody's head. I just try to tell people the way it is, and they can take it or leave it, man. It's 30 years ago since my career, as you said. I don't really give a shit, what people want to do. But at some point, I don't think it's going to benefit anybody. And all the guys that are up there, they've got good genetics. So that's why they got this development. Just because you take the same things, it's not going to, it's not going to give you the development these guys have got. So I think over a certain point, you're not going to get anything out of it. And my way that I did it was just to take a minimal amount to get the effect, because later on, at least I can go somewhere with that. Now guys are jumping on 1,000, 1,500 milligrams straight away. And like, you could get the same benefits from a very small amount to start with. Later on, as your body gets more accustomed and you got more muscle mass, you might need more. So it doesn't make sense to just jump on a huge cycle.
Yeah. Did you ever expect, it's called TREN now, but back in your day, it was parabolic amps.
Yeah.
Did you ever expect TREN to be this mythical substance where every kid in the world now is on TREN, or they want to be on TREN?
Not at all, man. I mean, no member of the public that I knew would know what TREN was back in the 90s. Like nobody, and we didn't even call it TREN. It was Parabolin, and Finaject was the other one, the short-acting one that was a veterinary one, right?
Yeah.
And, we didn't have much information, but I knew the guy was a guy that lived in France, and he lived in Birmingham as well. And he was the guy that used to bring stuff in. And I knew him earlier on because I was training in the gym, and he came to say hello, introduce himself. And he said, "Do you want anything?" I'm like, "No, I'm not on anything, man, but one day I probably will, but I'm not now." He said, "Okay." He said, "Come and see me when you want to talk about it, because I can tell you something. Been around a long time, and you've got the structure, you've got the muscle tissue to be a great bodybuilder. And I'm natural, right?" But he can see it. If you know, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Paul, he was the guy bringing the Parabolon in because it's from France, right? So we didn't know much about it. The only thing he told us is it's very powerful. It's very androgenic, but it doesn't aromatize. It doesn't make it hold water. It was very powerful. That's why they make it in 76 milligrams as opposed to 200 or 250 with the test or something like that.
Yeah.
And 2, absolute maximum 3 a week. And it's reportedly hard on your kidneys. Whether it is or not, I still don't know, but that's the information that I had. That's all I had. And I used to use it for contests, not really in off season. 2, 3 maximum a week. So that was like 200 milligrams would be 220 or something, let's say, would be the maximum. I heard of people using Finaject daily, 50 milligrams. So that would be 350 a week. But I don't really know anyone going over that, because we knew that somehow. But these famous TREN side effects.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know nothing.
Because you were on,
the only thing that I used to get was that funny taste in your mouth.
Copper.
Yeah, the TREN thing, like tastes like, I used to think it tastes like a fucking hospital or something, like,
Yeah.
I used to get that, but nothing, no fucking crazy aggression or mental episodes that I hear people about. It's probably just they're taking too much,
Well, I mean, I hear about young kids, like we're talking 16, 17-year-old kids taking a gram of TREN a week, 1,000 milligrams.
That's insanity, man.
To
really, like, it's just crazy. If you're going to take 1,000 milligrams, at least take testosterone. That's is a more natural compound than Trenbolone. That would be crazy.
And I say, because they start on TREN, and that's so powerful. I say that's like starting recreational drugs instead of making
injection heroin like straight away.
Yeah. Anyway, enough drug talk.
No, I mean, Trenbolone is, for me, it's a good contest drug, good hardener, but it's not something to take in all the time or in big doses.
Yeah, I probably should have asked this before, but your career was so short. 1990, May of 1990 was your very first professional show, the Night of Champions, New York. and your very last show was only 7 years later,
Yeah.
Long Beach, California, Mr. Olympia. You look at like Dexter Jackson competed as a pro for 20, 21 years, 22 years, I think it was. Was it the injuries? I mean, do you think you could have kept going if you hadn't, because you tore a bicep, you tore a tricep?
I'll tell you, like I tore a bicep in 94. And then, it's like always a little bit compromised. You got a little break in the chain somewhere. So now looking back, I can analyze it. I had a little shoulder pain and I was doing the reverse grip barbell rows that you saw me do.
Yeah.
But I noticed like one hand straight on the bar. This left hand, I had to it was rotating forward because the shoulder was slightly injured. That meant that when I grabbed the bar, there was a lot of tension going through the shoulder and through the bicep because it was not in the right position. And I was training too heavy near a contest and I got the injury. So then it was always a bit compromised from them. But the thing is, right or wrong, I did this thing like obsessively, 100%. I had no social life. I had no other interests. I had nothing. I didn't go to family events. I didn't do anything. Yeah. So in 97, I started my contest prep and I was like, it was different. It was like, this is starting to feel like Groundhog Day. Like I'm doing the same thing over and over again now. And somehow the joy was going out of it and it's going to be very difficult to improve, which would be a motivation, very difficult with the injuries at that point. And I just had this feeling during my contest prep, I need to start thinking what I'm going to do with the rest of my life because I've only been doing this and it's feeling like a job now. And it was a job, of course, I'm professional, but I didn't want it to feel like a job, like something you've got to do as opposed to something you really want to do. And it was starting to feel like that. So even if I didn't get injured, I don't know if I would have competed the next year because I was never chasing like Haney's title or anything. I was just doing one at a time. It may be that I would step down anyway. I would just had a smoother transition, because when I got injured and I had the surgery and I couldn't train properly, I even canceled guest posings and everything. I just didn't want to be on stage again looking like, I don't know, just not near my best. So it's kind of the way I do things, very extreme, I think. It was all in and then, boom, one day it stopped, which was very tough. It's tough for anyone in a competitive sport, I think, to step down from it and transition. But it was so sudden, it was very tough, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't have really time to contemplate it. But so you won 6 Olympias. Lee and Ronnie won 8. Phil Heath won 7. But in the past 8 years, we've had 7 different Mr. Olympia winners. Do you think we're ever going to see a dynasty like you guys had, or are those days gone?
I don't know if they're gone, but like not at the moment. Not at the moment. There's nobody like head and shoulders. I would say, Samson's Mr. Olympia. So let's say he's the best guy right now. When you got Hadi and Derek, that could be interchangeable, I guess, depending on who's in condition or not. They're very kind of close.
Yeah.
By the way, I did watch a bit of the Pittsburgh show.
Oh.
Did you go?
No, I didn't. I had to watch it just like you remotely. But what'd you think?
Yeah. I would say that, it's hard to go from video, right? You're not there in person. But from the video, I would say that Nick Walker would have won, in my opinion. I was in better condition and everything. What the fuck's up with the chewing gum on stage, man?
Yeah, I don't.
That's Mr. Walker, don't chew gum on stage, mate. Come on.
That is a rookie move. I don't know what he was doing, but
I mean, if the judges said that they marked him down from first place to second place for chewing gum on stage, I would understand that more than saying he had, the other guy had a better physique, to be honest. Well, when Wayne was around, none of that shit, right? Chewing gum on stage, man. Come on.
I mean, Big Steve Weinberger, a good friend of yours, he had the horrible task of trying to find a winner because at the end of finals, they were tied for points.
Yeah.
They both had 15 points, and he had to come up with this new sudden death round of just posing.
Okay. I didn't know that. I just saw some compulsory comparisons.
And, Nick was getting tired. He was getting gassed, and between poses, his gut would pop out. He's got a midsection. And I think that's how they gave it to Derek, because they had to do.
You got to see the whole thing. As I say, even like if I watch the whole thing on video, it's not the same as being there. But that's just what I saw. I thought he was in better condition, but that's not a way to present yourself on stage as a professional, man.
Yeah,
so that could have hurt him. Would have hurt him if I was judging.
Well, the last thing I want to talk about with the modern guys is we've even seen a couple Mr. Olympias, Derek and Samson. They don't have a lot of detail in certain areas, like the arms, the chest, the shoulders. I mean, we look back at, your whole thing was you didn't care about being big and full. And I don't think you ever shot up any body parts. I'm not saying they did, but people have accused him of that.
Yeah.
Detail and quality of the muscle was very important. And now it seems like we're even letting guys win the Mr. Olympia with arms. Sometimes they just look like a big blob. Why do you think we're seeing less detail? Is it because they're injecting things, or is it because they're trying to come in bigger and fuller? I know
I think it's possibly both. The standard's a standard, right?
Yeah.
So whoever wins, whatever that shape is what you got to chase, right? When Dorian was Mr. Olympia, people trying to get bigger and harder because that was what I presented.
Yeah.
So I think in the past, since there's been so many classes, that the open Mr. Olympia has been going for size and fullness and roundness and lack of detail. And if you're injecting things, site injection, that's also going to take details away. But I think it's simply like, I'm not volunteering here, of course.
Right.
But if I would take one of those guys to coach him for Mr. Olympia, any one of them, I would have him come in 10, 12, 15 pounds lighter.
Mm.
And then they would look more detailed and there would be more separation in the muscle. That's the kind of condition that's acceptable on Olympia stage. And I would be like not even halfway through my prep and thinking, I got to get more. So you're going to sacrifice some fullness and some size to get very sharp condition, right? But why would you do that if the guy that just won is not displaying that condition? And, you could come in bigger and fuller, and that's the standard. So if that's being rewarded, then, people will continue to do that, and it's easier to compete. You could do a short prep and get into condition, and then maybe you could do another one later in the year. For me, it was like all in once a year.
Yeah. I mean, we were just looking at 93 Olympia, and that was a few weeks after the infamous black socks photos that Kevin Holt's got. You could have come in. It was about a 10 or 12 pound difference between those pictures and when you got to the stage.
Yeah, like 12 to 15 pounds from the black and white to the contest, and much rounder and fuller. I like the black and white pictures.
Yeah,
right. It's probably, my favorite pictures of my physique, but I just felt it was a bit too soft for Olympia condition. And I always was conscious as a big guy, as I was, generally speaking, that I want to try and get the condition that the smaller guys have got, like Sean Ray and Labrada and guys like that. I don't want to be just the big guy. I want to, match them on every department.
I remember your phrase, some phrases of yours stick in my head. You said, I want to be so ripped that they could see my kidneys pumping through my lower back.
I think I got that off Samir at some point. I stole that from him. But yeah, that was kind of the thing. To be like anatomy chart, you could basically see all the muscles, insertion, everything, separation, and small details in the muscle. But you got to get your body fat really low to look like that, and you've got to be a bit dehydrated as well. So obviously you're not going to be as big and as round. So it's like a balancing thing. But if I were to compete now, I probably wouldn't go to that degree. But why should I? I don't need to, right? It's all about winning.
You said your feet would hurt because the fat pads.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I was walking back and my feet were really hurting me. Plus I had a habit of banging my feet on the floor when I was competing. So it was that. But I was thinking, why are my feet hurting me? Well, my feet were so bony. And then there's a pad under your ball of your feet and on your heel, pad of fat. And that was like reduced right down as well. So it was pretty extreme.
Yeah, you just reminded me of the 91 Olympia in Orlando. The first time anyone in the U.S., well, no, not the first time, but first Olympia you ever did.
Yeah.
It was on risers. It wasn't like a real stage. It wasn't like a theater like Night of Champions was. So when you came out and hit that ab and thigh the first time and stomped your foot on the ground, the whole floor shook, and people could hear it from the back of the theater. Like, who is this guy?
I did it the first time I went to Night of Champions. I did it, because my posing style was my style, as it should be. You should pose as your personality, your physique, the presentation, the music. So it was quite martial and a bit aggressive, my posing, compared to everyone else, because I was not into the arty stuff. It's great, but it wasn't me, right?
Right.
So when I went Night of Champions, I did my first call out and did the compulsories. When I did my back double bicep, I did that, bang the calf down, so everyone would look. And I was a bit nervous going to New York, because I'm from England, and New York's like New York, right? I've seen it on TV, and I heard the people in New York, like, if they don't like you, they're they're going to tell you, right?
Yes.
So I didn't know, how the crowd was going to receive me, but I did that first round of posing, and banged their foot down and everything, and then 5 minutes later, the whole Beacon Theatre is chanting my name. They must have been, who's that guy? Who's that guy? Don't. And then they start chanting my name. I was like, okay, I guess the crowd's with me, And Benaziza was great, so I got second place. But it was, I knew that I had what it takes to be competitive in professional bodybuilding at that point.
I mean, I think it's noteworthy to say there's only two people ever beat you as a professional. It was Momo Benaziza in 1990 and Lee Haney in 91. No one else ever beat you while you were Mr. Olympia.
And that was, I was still learning then, still growing.
Well, that brings us to the final thing about today's bite. So the first guy to win Mr. Olympia out of UK since you did it in 97 was Samson Dauda when he did it last fall in 2024. And, he wants to keep this title, but he just got beat at the Arnold. He's coming in at like 305 pounds on stage. Enormous, big, full. I love his physique, but, he won't listen to me. But maybe if Dorian Yates says something about coming in lighter, what would your advice be to Samson if he wants to keep this title, not just another year, but maybe another few years?
I mean, his legs look great. That's a little bit more condition on the upper body. And I don't know about all these weights, man. I mean, does he look anywhere near as big as Ronnie Coleman? Absolutely not, man. I don't see 300 pounds there. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but I don't see it. And it's a visual sport. So, more upper body. And I wouldn't worry about the weight, man. I'll throw the scales away. Maybe if it came in at 15 pounds lighter, it'd look better.
I mean, that's, like I said,
he's got a great structure, great, And I've never met him, even though he's from UK and I'm from UK. We haven't met yet.
Oh, really?
No.
Wow. Okay, that's surprising. I mean, I know it's a big country, and you haven't been in the UK for years, right?
I'm living in Spain for 12 years, and I go back to UK a couple of times a year, 2-3 times a year to see family and everything. But we've never met. But I'm sure his experience, the UK welcome when you're Mr. Olympia, basically nothing.
The UK welcome.
Yeah, basically nothing. When I saw Big Ramy when he won, and in Egypt, and Hadi in Iran. I mean, literally being mobbed by crowds and reception and on TV and everything, probably. But in UK, is like, it probably went home to like nothing. His family were happy for him. That's just the way it is there. It's not recognized, really, bodybuilding.
Yeah, same as here, really. But so let's wrap it up by talking about your company, because you've had DY Nutrition for a while. I remember when it was called Dorian Yates Approved, which was way back in, we're probably like 20 years ago or close to
early 2000s. Yeah, I've been involved in the supplement industry, and I was interested in it anyway when I was competing, nutrition and supplementation. So, but we've really grown in the last 5 years massively. So we got our own manufacturing facility now, so that we got control over everything. And in this industry, there's a lot of corner cutters. So we have our own facility, so we're manufacturing our own stuff, and you can get the paperwork with it. There's a scan code on there, so you can do that. You can go online, you can look at the readout from the products to make sure that people are getting what they're paying for. So that's great, and we're doing really well in Europe and Middle East and even Asia now we're going into. So I'll be at the Mr. Olympia in October having some meetings with some people regarding kicking something off in the US. I mean, I have the most requests and mail from the US from consumers like, why aren't you here? Why can't we get it? But, it's been one thing at a time building the business. So now we're ready to take a look. And also I'm going to come and get my Mr. Olympia ring, right? Because I wasn't there last year to pick it up.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, he made up very nice rings for all the champions.
They look great. Yeah, I'm not sure I'd wear it too often. I might get mugged if I go to UK.
Were you busy? Was that when you were getting your hip replaced?
Yeah, around that time, yeah. So I couldn't make it out, but I'll be there this year.
Yeah. So DY Nutrition coming to USA. Yeah, I'm just curious because I'm in the USA, so I don't have that perspective, and I'm not in the supplement industry. Yeah. Is that looked at as sort of like the holy grail to have your products marketed in the US?
It's I mean, business is business, about making money, right?
Yeah.
But the US market is a big market, or it's a very tough market. There's a lot of companies there competing, but obviously I have a leg up because I am who I am.
Yeah.
And we'll see, but hopefully we can kick it off early next year. So we'll keep people informed on social media and everything, how things are developing.
It's I'm going to put that up while we're talking. It's Dorian Yates, yes?
The Instagram, yeah, the Dorian Yates, yeah. And then we got DY Nutrition, that's the supplements. But if you watch my page, I'll let people know the developments.
dynutrition.com, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me if this looks right, because I'm a horrible speller sometimes. Yeah. Okay.
No, one is the Instagram and one's the email. Yeah, I mean one's the website, so just separate them.
Okay. Gotcha.
Dorian Yates is the email, is the Instagram, and the other one's obviously the website.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have taken a lot of your time up today, and you let me get my beauty sleep, which I appreciate because you're 6 hours ahead of me.
Yeah, I was going to get you up at 5 a.m., but I took mercy on you and I went to the gym instead.
Appreciate that very much, man. I appreciate you doing this, Dorian.
No problem, mate. I guess I'll see you in Vegas then, yeah?
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully. And, congratulations on still being so relevant in the sport. 30 years almost after you retired, Yeah,
it's great, man. And it's, as I said, I've been traveling. I've just been to Argentina, and I mean, literally, I had grown men crying because they had such an impact on them as they're growing up. And it's not just the gym; it's a mental approach as well, and my story of like overcoming adversity. So it's great. I really appreciate it that I had a positive effect on people. I did bodybuilding for myself, Initially, it's all about me. It's just for me. Yeah. But I realize it's something bigger if you can touch people all around the world. And through bodybuilding, I've done that. So yeah, I feel blessed that I'm still in that position.
Yeah, I mean, there are people watching Blood and Guts before they go to the gym now.
It's the ultimate pre-workout, which, by the way, is the name of my pre-workout.
It's called Blood and Guts. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm saying they weren't even born when that video was made, these people.
No, but here's the thing, Ron. I mean, I go and I do appearances, and I see Kevin and Ronnie doing their appearances sometimes online. And it's the same. It's, I mean, most of the guys in the lineup, they're not even born.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, 18, 19, 20, they're not even born when I was competing. So I guess they get into fitness and then they find out about the history and all the people in there, and they're interested. So that's great.
I mean, that warms my heart because like Ronnie does seminars with Giles over in UK, and they're mobbed, and it's a lot of young guys.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see the young people following a little bit of the history of the sport instead of just these guys on social media now that a lot of them don't even compete.
Oh man, they know and they appreciate the guys that built the sport, I think. Yeah. And they see I don't know, maybe a little bit more energy and drive and that we had back in those days. Now it's like so much information, it's overload, and a lot of it's technical. Technical information on form and exercises is great, but if you don't lift no fucking weight, forget it, guys. Like You could do your training absolutely perfect, right? The form and everything, and use a cable and do one side at a time or whatever. But that's not going to be as productive as the guy that's got shitty form and is throwing his fucking weight all over the place, but at least is going for it. Yeah. So you got to combine the two together, the energy and the technical movements. Yeah. But don't forget, if you don't push it, it's useless, right?
I mean, the last thing I want to say about that is at my gym, I'll see guys, science-based lifters. They're on an incline bench in front of a cable with 30 pounds on the weight stack, doing a little squeeze, and they have no back development. And I'm thinking, Dorian, Ronnie, Branch, guys like that, hundreds and hundreds of pounds on T-bar rows, barbell rows, dumbbell rows, deadlifts, and they had these big slab-like manta ray backs.
Yeah, I'm sorry we were doing it wrong, though. We're doing it wrong, man. These science kids, they keep telling me. It's funny, I just find it amusing when I put some, like I'm coaching somebody and we put a little clip on, telling them how to do it and everything, and then you got these guys, coming on that they've read something or saw something, and we're doing it wrong.
All wrong. That's why you guys won all those Olympia titles. So anyway.
Well, we got the results, didn't we? So in the end, that's the proof, right? The proof's in the pudding, as we say.
I love that phrase because it's so true. All right. Well, Dorian Yates, thank you so much for taking the time.
Ron. Wish you all the best, mate, and hope to see you in Vegas then, yeah?
Yes, sir. All right, everybody, thanks for watching.
I'll be there. See you in October in Vegas, Mr. Olympia.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, thanks for watching Ron Line Report with this man, Dorian Yates. We'll see you later.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.